In this installment of our cod fishing mini-series, we look at how to target them from rock marks. We'll first take a look at the stretches of coast where rock mark cod can be found. We'll then take a look at the ideal conditions for the day. We'll discuss some tips on casting and cover some other key methods, followed by a rundown on tackle and finally some tips on bait. So where can we expect to find rock mark cod? Though cod can be caught all the way around the UK, the rocky style ground tends to be found throughout the western stretches of coastline, along with places like eastern Scotland and the Northumbrian coast. Rock marks can be found in abundance around the Norwegian coast as well as around the Danish coast, stretching as far south as the coasts of northwest France down to northern Spain. Areas such as the Netherlands and Belgium will tend not to hold as much rocky ground. Both the Baltic and Icelandic coasts have many rock marks where shore-caught cod can be found. So what kinds of conditions will best suit the rock venues? For the western and southern UK such as the English Channel, Wales and Ireland, the rock mark season for mature-sized cod is similar to the surf beach season, but usually shows a slightly earlier dependable start in the month of October, especially from the deeper rock ledges. These fish will typically be gone between late January and March. For the very northern part of the UK, including Scotland leading down to Northumbria, there is actually a summer season where mature cod are caught through June to September, before they move on to the surf beaches in autumn and also migrate southwards around the UK. Cod love tidal run no matter what the venue, as they literally use the tide to feed. For the shallower rock beaches, the larger size tides will allow them to feed effectively as well as promote inshore movement. For any type of rock mark, cod will actually tend to feed on both the flood and the ebb, unlike the cleaner ground venues. The cod will typically feed hardest during the moments when there is the strongest tidal pull, which will be the middle hours of the flood or the ebb. For deeper rock marks where the tide naturally tends to be stronger, the smaller neap tides can actually still produce reasonably well. Night tides can be particularly important for rock marks for increasing your chances. The reason being is that watercolor on these venues that would otherwise produce the low light conditions that cod prefer is less likely to be found due to the fact rocky coastlines lack the level of sediment that cleaner coastlines tend to have. Despite this, sediment can still travel on the tide, either from offshore or from nearby coastline, such as silty estuaries. Even on rock venues, cod will prefer a moderate surf with movement to the water. Not only will it dislodge food, but it will promote watercolor, though avoid very heavy surf conditions as cod will stay offshore in deeper water. Overcast conditions in the day can also help block light levels and bring cod inshore. If fishing at night or during any level of rough water, always keep your safety in mind. This will particularly be true during winter when rocks can become icy and unstable. Let's now take a look at some casting tips and other key methods. For the shallow rock beach venues, scoping the ground at low tide is a key tactic, not only for finding features but also for avoiding snags. As with the clean beach venues, those gullies and depressions where the water puddles up on the outtide will hold food. Also look for the areas of snag-free clean ground immediately next to heavily weedy areas or highly uneven rocky areas, as these will also draw cod in. On the deeper rock ledges, the cod can be less than 50 yards out. For rock fishing, it tends to be a wise move to use a one-rod setup. The reason for this is that you need to be ready to play a fish as soon as possible to avoid the fish finding any snags. As soon as a positive slam down of the rod tip happens, strike and play the fish instantly. Fishing one rod also allows you to effectively keep an eye out for any slack line bites. Keeping the rod tip high can aid in early bite detection, though tackle needs to be correctly chosen to avoid baits lifting off the bottom, which we'll discuss in a moment. If a fish does find a snag, allow a few feet of line off the spool, as the fish will often move out of the snag if there is enough slack. Numbers of fish will tend to be smaller on rock marks, so staying mobile and fishing different features and can produce bites more consistently. Let's now look at an ideal tackle setup for rough ground cod fishing. Heavy rods to fish rough ground and hold bottom will be crucial, so a rod that casts between 6 to 8 ounces will usually be required. The length depends on the venue type. If you are fishing a deep rock ledge, then a 12 to 13 foot rod will usually be ample. For the shallower rock beaches, consider using a rod of up to 14 or 15 feet long. Main line can be mono or braid with an ideal minimum breaking strain of 25 pounds. Consider going higher if using braid. A tapered leader will be required for casting heavy lead setups. Always use a drop net when safe to do so from deeper marks. This will prevent you losing potentially sizable fish, and will be better for the fish's welfare. A pulley rig as ever will use the weight of the fish to pull the lead clear of snags. We don't want the rig body to be overly long, as this may lift the bait off the ground, which is not ideal for cod fishing. We also want to avoid overly long snoods so the bait is not lifted by any current. A 28-inch max length rig body of 70 pounds mono will be sensible. The snood should be no longer than 22 inches of mono with a minimum of 60 pounds breaking strain. Wire pattern hooks can be handy for rock fishing as they can pull from snags, but for cod fishing there is always the risk the hook may straighten out after hooking a sizable fish. So strong pattern hooks in a pennel setup for big baits will typically be a sensible choice. Hook size should be between size 3/0 and 4/0. Consider using a bait stop above the hooks to stop bait sliding up the line mid-cast. Bait clips can also be handy for shallower venues, but be aware these can make tackle losses more expensive. So you should consider leaving these out when fishing deeper venues where longer casts may not be required. So what about our bait choices? One method that can pay off well is the use of big baits, as cod will be hunting almost exclusively by scent and vibration in typical ideal inshore conditions. So big baits will offer a good scent trail to lure them towards your rigs. Just be sure to not go so big that you hinder your casting distance. Lugworm is a popular cod bait, either black, blowlug, or yellowtail. Squid is another popular bait readily taken by cod, and squid can be used to wrap softer baits such as worm for added protection. Peeler crab are a top bait from rock marks, as crab are abundant. Don't forget that if you are using larger baits and casting at distance, the bait on your hook length can take a hammering from the casting process, especially as it hits the water. So make sure to use plenty of bait elastic to keep your bait streamlined and secure. If you'd like to fish for cod from surf beaches or the deeper style steep to beaches, check out the videos showing here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay notified of any new videos we upload. Feel free to browse our channel page to find many other sea fishing related videos. Simply click the channel name under the video window. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.